So Japan wants to eliminate all illegal immigrants. As of early this year, Japan has about 68,000. Compare that to the US, which has about 13 million. But for Japan, this is not good enough. Japan wants to bring their numbers of illegal immigrants down to zero, which may be scary for some. The Prime Minister, Takaichi, last year announced a zero illegal foreign resident plan, aka the Zero Plan, to crack down on illegal immigrants and overstayers, which builds on the country's already existing immigration laws and policies, highlighting that Japan has seriously one of the strictest immigration enforcement systems in the world, and it's gearing up to get even stricter in the future. I'm not gonna lie, some of you might even be surprised when I share with you 5 laws and policies that Japan already has when dealing with illegal immigrants and overstayers, especially for those of you who feel that borders shouldn't exist and that everyone should be free to live wherever they want. Now, as someone who's lived here for more than 20 years though, who appreciates Japan's culture and how it's created a relatively high trust society, I've come to also understand and respect the country's laws and its policy, despite maybe not fully agreeing with every single one of them, including ones on illegal immigration. First of all, I should probably mention that Japan is a very homogeneous country that has remained relatively isolated due to its island geography. Some may argue that it's part of its beauty. Legal foreign residents make up only 3.3% of Japan's total population of 123 million people. Americans like myself, who are legal residents of the country, are actually only 1.6% of the foreign population. That's about 66,000 people. You know, just enough to fill a US football stadium. Before I start this list though, if you like this type of video, let me know by hitting that like button, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button for more videos about Japan. Alright, let me break it down. Number 1. Rewards programs for public tips. First, Japan actively encourages citizens and residents to report suspected overstayers or illegal workers. For example, on the national level, their ISA, Immigration Service Agency, a rough equivalent to US's ICE, has an official tip system, both via phone and web, where people can report suspected illegals, which can lead to investigations of these people. And get this, with rewards up to 50,000 yen, which works out to be about $314. To be fair though, no issued rewards have been reported in recent years. And on a more local level, Ibaraki Prefecture recently announced that as of April of this year that it plans to offer small cash rewards, around 10,000 yen, $63, for tips on businesses who are hiring undocumented foreign workers, but only if the tip leads to a deportation. For example, in March of this year, there was a raid in Ibaraki's Hota City where multiple houses were raided, discovering 19 people, 17 Indonesians and 2 Thais, who were illegally overstaying, working in the area's agriculture sector. The authorities reported this was an intelligence-driven raid. In any case, in Japan, it kinda seems like it pays to be a snitch. Number 2. Random ID checks. In Japan, the police will regularly and randomly stop foreigners on the street to check their IDs in hopes to catch illegal immigrants and overstayers. This one is probably one of the scariest things for illegals trying to stay under the radar, but it's also one of Japan's strongest detection and deterrent methods. Before I get into it, I should mention that I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you any legal advice in this video. If you have any questions about any of this, check with a real lawyer. So what I understand is that it's not legal for Japanese police to randomly stop people on the street and check their IDs. But the Japan police operate under 2 laws to get around this, so they can catch illegals. 1. Police are legally able to stop and question people, including foreigners, if there's reasonable grounds, like unusual behavior or there are surrounding circumstances. And 2. By law, foreign nationals like myself are required to always carry our residence ID cards, which we all get when we become a resident here. It has my photo, address, personal information, nationality, and even my visa status. So police are legally allowed to ask for my residence card if I'm being questioned on reasonable grounds. This gives police enough gray area to profile foreigners and check their IDs. Yes, foreigners can refuse by law, but in practice, refusing to show their IDs to a police officer likely raises even more suspicion and will often result in getting asked to go to the police box, which again further escalates things, and by this point the police are not gonna let a foreigner go. If you're here illegally, well, it's kinda game over when they ask to see your ID, and maybe one of the reasons why police so often perform these checks. In fact, many Japanese citizens support random ID checks, believing that it helps protect their safety, as many believe foreigners are a large source of crime. The thing is, crime rates in Japan are relatively low by global standards, with only about 770,000 reported penal code offenses in 2025, compared to the US, which had 14 million reported criminal cases in 2024 alone. This is one of the things I appreciate about Japan the most. Interestingly though, when you break things down, long-term foreign residents, excluding short-term visitors and tourists, actually account for only about 2% of Japan's total crimes. However, relative to their population share of about 3.3%, their per capita crime rate is 1.72 times higher than that of Japanese citizens, which is why some Japanese feel unsafe around foreigners. Personally, I've been randomly stopped in Japan for ID checks several times while walking. When I'm polite and I promptly show the police officers my ID, they quickly let me go on my way. Now, if I decided to refuse their checks, well, there goes the rest of my day. They're not letting me go until they find out who I am. Luckily for me, I live in Japan, and there are so many awesome things to experience. But if you want to experience Japan from the comfort of your own home, Sakurako, the sponsor of this video, wants to help you do it through their snack boxes. If you're missing Japan, these monthly Japanese artisanal and seasonal snacks are just for you, as they're rarely available outside of Japan. Every month has its own theme, featuring 20 traditional sweets, Japanese tea, and an exclusive homeware item supporting local makers across Japan. This month's theme is Heritage of Hiroshima, where nature, culture, and history come together. Enjoy the Setoichi lemon cookie, Kyoho Gracie chocolate crunch, strawberry Baumkuchen, and I'm loving the Shio Dare Senbei, all pairing perfectly with this month's drink, Kudzu Yu. Plus, you get a Bloom's hand-picked ceramic. As always, you get this awesome booklet that tells you about each snack, as well as allergen info and cultural insights about Japan. Seriously, this entire box just makes you feel like you're in Japan. Get $5 off your first subscription today by using my code Paolo and link in the description. Number 3. Overstay tracking system and database cross-checks. Well, it's a digital world now, and it's getting more difficult for illegals in Japan to go unnoticed. The country's tracking system provides near real-time data to detect and flag overstayers, known in Japanese as Kuho Zangyusha. Whenever a foreigner enters the country, they're automatically entered into the system. You know this if you've ever visited Japan. When you go through the immigration screening process at the airport, they take your picture, fingerprints, match it with your passport, and record your entry and exit dates. Obviously, this also includes foreign residents like myself, where we're tracked by our residence cards, which again, we always gotta carry. There's no way around it. We're all being tracked in the system, including when our visas expire. And that's not just it. They take this info and cross-check it with other government bodies, such as Japan's police database, labor ministry, and even local government municipalities. They know where you live, if you move, what your health insurance is, pension, tax payments, etc. Any inconsistencies can trigger further investigations by the authorities. And since it's all linked, it makes it even more difficult for illegal immigrants and overstayers to operate in Japan. And get this, the data sharing is planned to be even more expanded in the coming years with Japan's Zero Plan. Number 4. Immigration detention centers. Once apprehended and a deportation is ordered, then illegals are moved to one of Japan's immigration detention centers. It's not a prison, but it's very much described as prison-like. In other words, you don't want to end up here. The daily routine is a strict, regimented schedule with roll calls, set meal times, and limited free time exercise. Again, let's just keep on saying it's not a prison. A majority spend under 6 months here, but a significant portion spend 6 months to 2 years, and in some cases, several years. What's even scarier is that there's no actual time limit at the moment for an illegal to be held here. That said though, Japan's Zero Plan is making a stronger push for accelerated deportations in the future. And number 5, birthright citizenship and asylum seekers. Now, I wanted to quickly touch on these two topics as they're somewhat related to overall immigration. First, Japan doesn't recognize birthright citizenship, requiring at least one parent to be a Japanese national for a baby to be the citizen of this country. Citizenship by blood reinforces the idea that Japanese nationality is linked to Japanese ancestry and cultural belonging. Japan's overall stance is that long-term permanency and citizenship should be earned through residence, compliance, and integration, not granted automatically through scenarios such as birth tourism. And if you're an asylum seeker, Japan may not be the best country for you to go to. The system prioritizes national security, social cohesion, and labor needs over broad asylum claims. As of 2025, there were between 11,000 to 14,000 asylum seeker applicants, and about 9,400 of these cases were processed. Only 1,186 people, though, were granted some form of stay, while only 187 were actually recognized as conventional refugees. Compare that to the US, which granted asylum to between 35,000 to 45,000 refugees in the same year. Also, those who aren't granted stay in Japan were likely detained in immigration detention centers, again with no statutory maximum duration once their deportation was ordered. So now you know, are Japan's immigration laws and policies fair? Are they moral? Should places like the US adopt some of them, or should Japan's immigration laws be completely abolished? What do you guys think? At the end of the day, Japan is Japan due largely to their homogeneous population and unique geography. It's the reason why many foreigners fall in love with its culture and why many want to live here. But would Japan still be Japan if they adopted more lenient immigration laws and if there were more foreigners living here? Would Japan still be able to maintain its culturally rooted strong work ethic, high quality product standards, excellent customer service, and even its relatively safe streets? Would life improve with more foreigners living here? And if it doesn't improve, does it even matter?